Hey everyone, Mitchell here from TheHockeyRefBook.com. In this video, we're going to talk about the procedures for the referee in the three official system. Now, I always like to start just by reminding you about all the skills so that you can see where the skills that we're talking about today fit within the other skills of referees, linespeople, or else the officials in the two official system. So we've seen this pyramid before. We know positioning is all about where you go, when you go there, staying out of the way, being able to see the play. We know that procedures, which are in the middle, are for stopping play, separating players, and starting play again. And we know that game management is about bringing all those skills together and then adding more skills to manage the hockey game. But you need these bottom skills in order to work up to game management. And of course, professional skills like feedback and skating are all skills that you need to have in order to develop the skills that are within that pyramid. In this video, we're going to be talking about procedures, and that's all about stopping play, managing the stoppages, separating the players, and then starting play again. And we're going to talk about those as focused on the referee in this video. Before we jump into all this information that I want to share with you today, I will remind you that the book, How to Referee Hockey, it's not just about the rule book, is really very complementary to what we're talking about today. Not everything in the book is in these slides, not everything in these slides is in the book. So they really work to complement each other to develop your skills as far as possible, give you the best opportunity to have success when you're refereeing a hockey game. So we can see that these blue items are in the book as well as in this video, but we're going to find other items as well in both the two different resources for you to take a look at when you would like to. Now, I always like to say this, your brain is a series of neural connections. And when you can get those neural connections to connect, you will have more success in actually doing things. So being able to think about it is also going to help you do it. So as you go through this, you might want to hit pause and just try to imagine what it looks like to actually do some of these things on the ice. That way your brain starts to put the ideas together, puts you in a better situation to succeed when we're jumping into a game and we're actually having to use procedures to help players be fair and safe as they play the game. So imagine yourself doing these things. Don't just passively go through this video without trying to apply the information in your mind as well. But here's a procedure, and this is really it. It doesn't matter what kind of stoppage you have. A procedure is a procedure is a procedure. You stop play, you separate players, managing the stoppage, and then you start play again. Stop play, separate players, start play. That's your procedure every time. If you get into a situation where you're not sure what's going on and you forget what to do, it's, did I stop play? Yes, we've done that. Have I separated the players? Okay, am I getting ready to start play again? And just work off those ideas, and no matter what your stoppage is, this is what you can fall back to. Notice that in the book, we've separated chapter 7 into stopping play and separating players, and then chapter 8 is all about starting play. So what I've tried to do is break those skills down into two separate sections so you can see how they flow together. We're going to start with a goal procedure today because goals are very exciting times, and we want to make sure that we understand our role as the referee. So let's just imagine for a moment that the puck is in the slot and it's going to get shot on net. And it goes into the net. As the referee, we know from positioning, when the puck goes to the net, you go to the net. So you're going to finish at a position much closer to the net, or even at the net position when that puck's in the net. And you'll make your signal, at which point we know that there's going to be two teams. The X team just scored. They're going to be celebrating in the slot. The Z team's kind of going to be moping about the fact that they got scored on. And in this moment, you're probably talking to them. You're encouraging them to go for a line change so that they can exit the zone. Your lines people have come in from the blue line and they're in with the X players, making sure they stay away from Z and encouraging them to leave the zone, and they do. At this point, Z's probably heading to their bench. And once they've left the zone, as the referee, you can go and report the goal and then proceed to center ice. Seems pretty simple, but when you don't do it properly, it starts to be obvious that you're not doing it properly and you lose the trust of the arena. So understand all these little things that you can do as a lines person or a referee or an official in the two official system, they all help with game management. So at this point, we're going to have to do a line change procedure. And in the line change procedure, we always take up a position visible to both benches. In the case of a center ice face-off, we're at center ice. Once you're in that position, you make eye contact with the visiting bench. The visiting bench is able to make changes for 5 seconds. So you're looking at the visiting bench. We don't have them pictured, but your visiting bench would be over here. After that 5 seconds, you put your hand up like a stop sign, like so, to the visitors to say stop, and then you're going to look over towards the home team and you're going to make eye contact with them, and they have 5 seconds to change. Once they've had their 5 seconds, while also being aware that the visiting team hasn't snuck a change in on you, once they've had their 5 seconds, them being the home team, you put your hand down, there's no more changes, and you're going to drop the puck within 5 seconds. And that's your 5 second, 5 second, 5 second line change procedure, just like you would do in the 2 official system. Now, let's imagine that after that center ice face-off, this team has won the face-off and they are carrying the puck up the ice. The referee is in position. We're going to pause there for a second. And the referee sees this infraction happen here where X hooks Y, or whatever it is that whatever he or she does, slashes Y, slashes Z, X slashes Z, X hooks, X cross checks, whatever it happens to be. You're going to continue into the zone. Your hand's up at this point because you've seen the penalty. You've mentally recorded the number, team, and infraction. At this point, we're going to have the shot come on net. You're going to blow your whistle, stop play. Players are going to be looking at you. You're going to wait. You're going to come to a stop, count to 3, talk to the players. Hey guys, let's go. Penalty coming. Separate. Your lines people are probably coming in at this point. After 3 seconds, you lower your arm and you announce the penalty. At this point, the lines person will take X to the box. Once the players have exited the zone, for simplicity, I just have the 2 players, but of course we're talking about up to 10 skaters and a goalie in that end zone. Once they've exited the zone and everything's good, you can go and report your penalty and then go and take up a position to do line change. Now you'll remember from our previous example, line change was at center ice. This line change is being taken up at the top of the circle so that both benches can see you. So you're trying to take up a position where both benches can see you whenever you're doing that line change position, but you're at an appropriate distance from where you have to be from when the puck is dropped. Once line change is done, we take up our position in the end zone at the bottom of the circle, and we're all set up for that next face-off. You'll notice in the bottom of these slides, there is a page reference that, of course, refers to the page that each skill is in How to Referee Hockey, the book. Okay, so we know this is the penalty procedure, but let's take a closer look at number 3. Come to a complete stop at a place where you are visible, but also close enough to the players for them to hear you. Ultimately, what we have to know here is that where changes. There's no perfect place to be, but where you are on the ice when you stop play is going to be determined by 3 things, and here they are. First thing you want to be, in no particular order, one of the things you want to be is as visible to as much of the arena as possible. So don't hide in the corner. You want to be able to see as much of the ice as possible. So you want to take up a position where you have a wide open vision to the ice surface, and you're close enough to talk calmly and assertively to the players that you need to talk to. So let's imagine 3 examples. Here's the referee down here at half piston. The penalty happens over here. The referee is going to stop play with a whistle. Now there's 2 options here. First option is to stay here, and when you stay in this position, you're visible. You can see lots of the ice, but you can't talk to the players very well. So a better option would be to pop back down here below the net, finish here, and now the whole ice can still see you. You can still see lots of the ice surface, and then you can also talk to the players calmly and assertively because you're closer to them. So that's one example. Here's another one. Play's going up the ice. The referee is following play up the ice and sees an infraction. Play stops. Referee blows her whistle. And she can jump out in this direction. Play's done now. This is no man's land, but there's no play going on. You want to be careful and aware that you're not losing the sight of the players behind you, but let's say that play's moved up the ice and you know there's no players behind you. You can start to cheat a little bit over in order to make sure that you can talk to the players. If there's players spread out a lot in this example, you might have to hold back further, or you could also jump across the ice, pivot with your back to the boards. You can still see lots of the ice surface. The benches can still see you, and you can talk to the players. So there's a couple different options, but you're always trying to balance being visible, seeing as much of the ice as possible, and being close enough to talk to the players assertively and calmly. Here's another example. Play's on your side of the ice. There's a penalty up in the neutral zone. You're following the play up the ice, but you see it. Your hand goes up. And as you see it, you blow your whistle, tweet, and then you're going to move up and make sure you get into a position to talk to the players while also seeing the ice and being as visible as possible. So you're always thinking about that. How do I balance being as visible as possible, seeing as much of the ice as possible, and then also being close enough to talk to the players calmly and assertively? You don't want to have to be yelling across the ice surface. Use your feet, move your feet, and create that presence after you've stopped play for that penalty. And presence, visible, see the ice, and be close enough to talk to the players. This brings us to the idea of icing the puck, because this same idea can apply in different situations aside from penalties. Let's imagine this first example. So in this first example, we're talking about there's nothing happening after the icing happens. So the puck gets shot down the ice, and we know that one linesperson is going to end up down here making the call. The other linesman will be following the play up the ice while they're aware of the players behind the play. But nothing's happening. Let's say this is after one team was hemmed in their zone for a long period of time, and they're exhausted, and they just go straight to their bench to change. Or if there's no change icing, then they just don't want to get in a fight. They just want to try to catch their breath for the next face-off. But regardless, nothing's happening. In this circumstance, the referee doesn't have to go all the way down here to the zone. This linesperson will make sure everything's good down here with the one player and there's no one down there. The main thing happening here is going to be here in the neutral zone where players are changing or turning around to head back up the ice. So this referee can create presence here with these players. Always thinking to yourself, where's the main group of players, or where are the players that I'm most likely going to need to create presence with or awareness of? And that's where you're going to try to position yourself rather than just going to where the puck went on that icing. Think to yourself, where are the players that I'm going to have to manage at the stoppage? Keeping in mind also, if this icing gets waved off, you have to be in position at the other end. So you have to balance that, being in position if icing gets waved off, but also an awareness of where you want to go if the icing gets called. Here's your second example. Again, we're going to have an icing, but something's happening behind you. There's pushing and shoving, there's yapping. You can't just race up the ice and be at the far end of the ice for the whistle. You have to be ready in case the icing gets waved off, but an awareness of where you need to go. So this time, icing goes, but now you can see the referee curled back, right? Curled back towards where the stuff was happening. Curled back towards where that stuff is happening. And now, because this stuff's happening here, this pushing and shoving, this referee's right here to say, guys, knock it off. We got a face-off coming down in that end. Let's go. Go line up. Go for your line change. It's a 2-1 game. Don't take a stupid penalty. Let's go. And now you're creating that presence as opposed to going to the far end where there's one player and the linesperson can handle it, right? In this situation, we have a linesperson in here. We have one linesperson probably down here coming back eventually, but this linesperson is going to be down here to start. And then this referee can make sure that they provide that voice while their one linesperson is sorting things out. Here's your third example. It's happening where the icing is called. So again, we see the puck go down the ice. So we're down here. In this case, this is where the stuff's happening. So now you come all the way down the ice, take up your position down by the boards so you can talk to the players, look straight up the ice, head on a swivel, see as much of the ice as possible. You're talking to the players, the ice, everyone in the game can see you, and you are able to see lots of the ice surface. That's always your question. Be seen, see the ice, and talk to the players. And how are you balancing those three things and choosing where you stop when a stoppage happens? Remember, stop play, separate players. This part we're talking about is about separating the players. How are you separating the players as the referee? It's with your voice and knowing where you're going. We're not even at the point yet of doing a start play where we're working on line change procedure and the lines people are setting up the face-off. But that's icing, understanding where you're going and how you're creating that presence to separate players. Goalie covers the puck. A little bit easier because the puck never leaves the zone, right? So you're not having to think about where you're going to stop because you're using end zone positioning. Let's imagine puck was won back to this defense person. Shot comes on net. Goalie's covering the puck. You are finishing at the net because the puck's at the net. Tweet, your whistle goes, and now you can talk to the players about separating. Lines people are coming in, getting between players, and you're able to talk to the players about getting out of there. Hey guys, let's go. It's a 6-1 blowout, I know, but let's just go home. It's late in the game here. Everyone wants to go home. Just separate, please. Whatever it is you're going to come up with, tell a joke. Understand what you're looking for. Those types of ideas will be covered more in the game management information in some of the other videos that I've posted. But we've got stop play. Now we have to separate the players. Lines people are helping with that. You're talking to them. They exit. you jump up to the top of the circle to do your line change procedure. They get lined up, you finish line change procedure, and then go to the bottom of that circle for the face-off in half piston. But that's all about your procedure. There's your stop play, separate players, start play. It's always the same thing. It's just understanding the nuances of different situations. Now, of course, there's other stoppages as well that I'm not going to cover in this slideshow. There's certainly more information in the book all about all the different stoppages or other stoppages. Certainly doesn't cover all of them, but it does give you some. But again, manage stoppages. It's all about those three things: stop play, separate players, start play again. Wear is all about being visible, being able to see, and being able to talk to the players and balancing those things. And as the referee, knowing where to go on the ice so you can do those three things. And when we do that, it doesn't matter what kind of stoppage it is, it's always the same idea, right? It's about your awareness and your understanding of what the game needs from you in that moment in time. And you can develop that by, remember, be visible, see the ice, and talk to the players. There are certain types of stoppages that have nuances, and one of my favorite ones is the penalty shot, because it still falls into stop play, separate players, start play. The difference is that it happens twice before we actually get to do a face-off. So we know that we're going to have to call a penalty, right? So we're going to stop play for calling the penalty. We're going to call the penalty. We're going to get all the players back to the benches, except for the players shooting the puck and the two goalies in either crease. And then a shot's going to happen, and then we have to do separate players all over again. So let's just run through this. So Zed is going to take the shot. The first thing we're going to think about is the referee in this situation is where is Zed's stick, and we're going to set up on the same side of the ice as his stick so that you can see the puck all the way down the ice. If you go on the opposite side, you might lose the angle, and the puck will be blocked out by her body as she comes down the ice. So that's the first thing. Your partner is going to line up. One of the lines people is going to line up mirror to you. The other lines person will line up in the neutral zone, managing the benches. Remember, the lines person in the neutral zone always lines up with the benches because they want to be there in case someone jumps on the ice prematurely to celebrate a goal. They want to be able to hold players back. Okay, but now, of course, whistle goes and Zed comes in and takes their shot. So we're now we haven't started play, but the goalie and the shooter are playing. But we haven't started play yet. We are in separate players, then we pause our procedures, we let the shot happen, and as soon as the shot happens, referee makes a signal on the net, and then we're back into the mode of separate players. Because at this moment, we have to make sure the goalie and the shooter stay separate. Yes, goalies and shooters sometimes go after each other if it's a heated game or if they're just goofy. As soon as these two are separated, Zed is going to curl back towards their bench, and L2 has to maintain separate players by making sure Zed stays away from the other team's bench. So we're in separate players mode during the penalty shot. Stop play for the penalty, make the penalty call, announce the penalty shot, set up the penalty shot. Players are separate at this point. Shot gets taken. As soon as the shot's taken, we're back into separate players mode, keep players separate, and then move on to your line change and getting the players on the ice and lined up for starting play again. So there's nuances to these things, but it's always stop play, separate players, start play. It's always the same idea. So that's the penalty shot and how it is that we can get different nuances to our procedures during stoppages. Handshake line is of course also different because we've stopped play, but we never have a start play again. Handshake lines happen after the game's over, right? But we're still trying to keep players separate, but in a special way because they're going to shake hands, right? The point is go and bump gloves with each other or shake hands depending on where you live. There might be different expectations. We are always aware, though, of what it means to keep players separate. So during a handshake line, we want to be aware of comments that are not respectful, right? Players who are a little bit heated. And as we go through this, we're looking at making sure the players are separated as soon as possible. So we know that they're going to curl back to their benches. When we think about the lines people are going to set up quite close to the two lineups, talking to them, telling Zed, go back to your bench, X, go to the exit, please. Right, and they're going to talk to them. The referee's going to stand further back and look at the big picture of things. As the play progresses, or as the handshake line progresses, they're going to go through, and the lines people are telling them where to go. They're going to listen, and L2 will go back to the bench. Referee will stay further back looking at the big picture, L1 will go leave the ice with Team X. Once they've left, L2 can go and referee can follow them up. And Z leaves the ice, and then R can leave the ice as well. So you can see that there's that same idea. We want to keep players separate as much as possible. They're together for that handshake line, but there's the nuances, but the same ideas are there. So as we wrap this all up, just remember your procedures: stop play, separate players, start play again. And when you do that, you'll find that it'll be a lot easier to know your job and do your job. Thanks for watching.